there was reference last week, a couple of weeks ago, to predictions that the American economy will face 50% unemployment from automation. Now, it doesn't worry me in the sense, it's not doom and gloom. It provides an opportunity. And I think one of the most fundamental things that is unchangeable, which is coming through that, is obviously communication. And the key component to education in any form, whatever form it takes, is the ability to listen to the other person. Communication is fundamentally about listening, in identifying what the other person is saying. It didn't come up, but I teach philosophy and ethics to 16 and 17-year-olds, and I've done that for 10 years in Western Australia. I don't want to gloat, but we're miles ahead of New South Wales in terms of, secondary education. I'm being facetious, but we probably are. So in terms of, future-proofing, I think it's communication. That's the trait that makes Homo sapien Homo sapien. That is our key mechanisms for survival. I mean, we keep making new discoveries. The latest research suggests that Aboriginals have been here not conservatively 65,000 years, but 110,000 years. Okay, that's discovered in New South Wales just recently. Look that up, it's mind-blowing. 10 years of research has just come out a couple of weeks ago and we think it's 110,000. What were they doing? They weren't, sitting in classrooms, learning, all this sort of stuff. And by the way, the classroom hasn't changed since 1930s. It's still conveyor belt education. It's still based on, ideas of automation from the 1930s. It's still a conveyor belt, the way we're doing it. And we're seeing huge levels of anxiety. You've got that here. We're huge levels in teenagers of anxiety, where everyone's just wildly crashing into a future with no reflection. So in terms of, I think the key thing to future-proof that education must address is communication. And again, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here, but, I think one of the key areas has been philosophy and ethics, which teaches critical reasoning. Not by default. I mean, I'm an English teacher as well, and English teachers, do teach critical thinking, but pure, unadulterated critical thinking is where you learn to dismember arguments, to pull things apart and understand that. And if teenagers aren't being taught that skill, you're not future-proofing them. They're just going to reproduce the narrative instead of reinventing the narrative. But my key thing as an educator is they need to think, they need to listen, That's how you prepare them for the 21st century. I mean, it's exactly what was just being said. It's like humanity hasn't fundamentally changed. But I think we can't get ahead of what's coming. It's coming nevertheless. But to live through that, to work through it, it's the humanising nature of being able to communicate well and to be able to listen and think and participate in meaningful ways.